any of you have had kids, this will be familiar. Or taught kids, been around kids that come up holding a picture, painting, something they've made, all excited, aglow with wonder, amazement at what they could do. That's a natural state for children. And as the years go by, we need a little coaxing to get into that experience. We need to shift into that place of wonder and freedom, creative freedom. That's the title of this speech, is Shift. I want to talk about something that we've created, that's been created, that's a perfect environment to experience this shift. I'll talk about the conditions that are necessary, what sustains it, and what the success, what it feels like. The name of this project is called Encompass. But rather than go into a lot of detail about it, the nuts and bolts, I'm going to dive right in with 3 instances where I experienced that shift while in the Encompass environment, which is a gathering, a small gathering outside where we share stories and speeches and different sorts of presentations. So, enough said. First experience was after a speech that I'd delivered. I felt very pleased with the speech, that it was inspiring, that definitely higher level. It was a speech about being true to yourself and forgiving yourself. I even referenced Jesus' message to the woman at the well when he talks about the eternal life. I wove everything in from my religious background and all my understanding that I've acquired along the 50 years or so since I've took a different path from the church. Anyways, it was very good for me to deliver that speech. I felt really good about it. And then the feedback I got was curious for me. I had to step back a bit because it wasn't what I expected. What I expected was, Laurel, you just are such a loving, understanding person. You understand how people are, what people need. And instead I got, actually, I wasn't feeling guilty before I heard your speech, and then I heard your speech and that talk about forgiveness, and suddenly I felt really guilty. Man, that was the exact opposite effect that I intended. I watched the video again, because everything is videoed in our Encompass space, and I realized, well, it's true. All the long preamble that I'd given about all the things that we do wrong and all the ways that we feel bad about ourselves and all the things that we think we need forgiveness for just kind of activated that feeling of having done wrong things, of not measuring up, of falling short. It activated all that just by mentioning it and referring to it. And I realized that to have power, you need to go from the now and directly forward into that place of being who you are, being who I am, and whatever the past is irrelevant. And the shift that I felt was realizing a different way of speaking the message, and that I could pay more attention to my feelings when I was listening to a person, someone give a speech, and it was full of all kinds of words that I'm familiar with and phrases that are supposed to make us feel better. And very often they would make me feel just the opposite. So this was an important part. This was a shift for me. The bigger shift, the moving into a place of freedom, was when I heard the feedback and I didn't feel distressed or defensive or wronged or misunderstood. I went, oh, yes, thank you. Thank you for helping me to see that. It felt really good. So the second incident happened a few weeks later when I was listening to someone else's story. They were telling a Christmas story, a lovely, charming Christmas story about he was helping his child to re-experience the joy and wonder of Christmas. Now, there are some things in the way he told the story or his feeling about the story that I thought he got it wrong. Like, I know what he's really talking about. I've studied this kind of thing, and I know what he's talking about. And when it was time for the feedback, I started to give him that feedback, and I caught myself. Why would I think that I knew what his story was about? How ridiculous. And I caught myself in time and listened to everyone else's comments and feedbacks, and then I understood. I understood what he was wanting to convey about his joy of being able to guide, induce, create an environment for his child to experience that sense of wonder again. Now, where the shift happened here for me was I was able to go from that very familiar place for me where I think, oh, I know better. I'm listening. Oh, I know better. To catching myself. Like, oh, no, actually, that belongs to them. That's their story. Why would I know any better? And once again, it was that real feeling of, oh, freedom. Like, I'm not responsible for the person. Maybe there are these deeper insights and ways of looking at it, and maybe there is a right way of viewing certain things, but it's not my responsibility. My responsibility was to just listen and, echo back to him in a way that helped be an echo that helped him to really get at the feeling of the story, which we did as a group as well, and it was wonderful. I think very often we're so coach oriented in this world, like, oh, we're so ready to listen to everybody else give us this really, okay, it's important, it's probably true. I mean, people have studied this and it's their careers and they've helped a lot of people, but really, when it comes right down to it, we each have our own story. And that's what we want to be respected and appreciated for our story. It's really the crux of our relationships. And this felt really good. Again, understanding this, the difference between feeling like I had to go in and correct somebody and just listening, because it's a different kind of feedback. But was also amplified this shift was the fact that I caught it because of the practicing that we've been doing in our Beachcombers Toastmasters group and really listening and in dialogue. I caught it and I was able to stop myself. So in a way, you can see how these experiences are like stepping stones, where I'm, first of all, feeling like it's fine if someone doesn't see gives me some feedback I wasn't expecting. It's fine, it wasn't the perfect speech, but there was something there. And then moving on to where I'm able to look at myself a little more objectively and notice when I'm wanting to take over someone's story, that I'm able to step back now. So I'm becoming a little more objective, a little more aware, and of myself, and that gives a sense of freedom. So now on to experience number 3, which was a few weeks after the previous one. And I delivered a speech for the project Managing a Difficult Audience. I loved my story that I had developed as I practiced it. I could still feel how beautiful and tender and it sort of exists in this space in my mind, this place of wonder. I created the story. And I thought that I would be able to have some interplay with the story with the audience, that it would work. And it did to a degree. When it came to managing the audience, I became really very frustrated and irritated and no interest in really responding to the audience at all. It was a really annoying experience for me. But because of the space that we've created here in Encompass, and all the different, experiences, and because of the previous 2, where I'm learning to identify, there's a feeling when there's a shift about to happen. There's a feeling where it's like a sort of a niggling, like an itchy, there's something, there's something happening. And I know that if I just sit with that for a little bit, then it'll suddenly break through. It's like the sun breaking through the clouds. And I had that same feeling after the speech, that I needed to talk about it a little bit. I had to talk about my feelings. And I got the feedback that it would have been an opportunity for me to play with the audience. Now, playing with an audience requires that I have feelings of trust with the audience, that I feel comfortable with them, that I feel comfortable in myself, that I'm not threatened. And there are times when I, am feeling that, but to actually encourage and cultivate that feeling of play, that playfulness, I had to think about that a little bit. And I was reminded that my bird, my sort of spirit guide bird for this whole project, is actually the raven, which is very playful. And I do feel best when there is that feeling of lightness and playfulness. So it's there. And immediately, so here's where the shift was for me. That instead of feeling, oh man, I did not get that right, and oh, I'm expected to do something that's just completely out of my ability, my range, I'm just not there. I'm not there. Don't expect me to do it. Instead, because of the sort of culture of encouragement that we created in the Encompass, I started to think, whoa, I can't wait to try it again. Ooh, that'd be fun. Ooh, I could see, if someone started to irritate me, could I be playful? Could I draw them in? But that's another big shift to that feeling of openness and wonder, curiosity. So I've given you the 3 personal examples, described a little bit of how I experienced that shift, and mentally, emotional, and even physical. I feel a sense of physical, tingling or a little relaxation. So a relaxation maybe is the best word. Now I will describe in a little more detail how this Encompass space operates, how it works, how it has become a system or process. It's a safe place. It's an agreement among the participants. It has 3 main components. There's more than that, but these are the 3 that I'll briefly touch upon. First of all, I've mentioned it already, there's a culture of encouragement. So our feedback is given when desired, and generally there's a sense of wanting to highlight, to showcase what's special, unique, extraordinary, true, authentic in the person's presentation. We look for that. We look for that, what's genuine, what's particular to that person. We're wanting to encourage authenticity, authentic, creative self-expression. And having that as a aim, having that as the desire, and saying that's what I'm going to do, it changes your perspective totally. We're not teaching, we're not coaching, we're encouraging. The culture of encouragement. The second component is commitment. We've been meeting in this space every Wednesday, except for the 2 months of the summer, for generally 2 hours. This is in the 3rd year. Rain or shine, or snow, or wind. And that builds trust among the people who participate. And it comes to be taken for granted that we'll be there Wednesday afternoon, we'll be doing this, we'll have this time to share, to express, to communicate. And that creates this space, that expectation, that commitment. The third component is connection with the natural world. You know, it is a wonderful and marvelous experience to come into the garden, ready to start filming, and suddenly there's a swirl of seagulls and ravens and ducks and crows, and they're circling and calling and bringing in the energy and heralding us. That's happened. Or a wind will blow and golden leaves will shower down around us. Or I'll be filming and the little squirrel will peek out from behind a tree and scamper across. So we're very inspired by the weather, by our surroundings, and grounded and rooted. And I think it also contributes to this sense of safety, because most people generally have a greater sense of self-acceptance. When we're outdoors, we're accepted by the universe. We're a part of this world and in this natural world. So this space has enabled, continues to enable, in a way that builds on stepping stones, me to pay particular attention, toning, owning my focus, and with that expectation that I'm going to create something where I can have that same feeling of wonder that I did when I was a child. Look what I